team behind All Things Cyber wants to give a special thanks to the Simply Cyber community for joining us today. Hop in the chat and say hello. And there's Daniel's finger. And for loaning us our guest today, a big shout out to Black Hills Information Security, because testing should be collaborative, not adversarial. And they are totally not a cult. And of course, next week, don't forget, join us in sunny Central Florida for Hack Space Con. Come find us April 10th through the 12th at the Kennedy Space, or 10th through the 13th, at the Kennedy Space Center. And don't forget, you got to check out today's Technado episode. New episodes come out every Thursday on the IT Pro YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Welcome and thanks so much for joining us for today's All Things Cybersecurity webinar. I'm Sophie Goodwin. I'll be one of your wonderful hosts. I hope I'm wonderful today for this webinar. And of course, I'm not alone here. I've got my friend, in air quotes, Daniel Lowrie, to my right. Daniel, how are you?
I'm well. You look very like you just jumped out of bed and said, "Let's go do a webinar today." I like it. The very laid back look you got going on today.
Yeah, you know, it's cold. It's very cold in this office.
It does get chilly in the studio. Yes,
it's chilly, and it's kind of, there's a little bit of a breeze going on outside, so it's kind of nice today.
Yeah,
and I wanted
kind of a cold front came through last night, didn't it?
It did, yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show, I got the gator fit on. I wanted to show off the shoes because I got my orange and blues on, my Chucks. You can't really see them. There we go. Got my Chucks on.
I'm just wearing standard Chucks.
But they're Chucks, and Chucks are Chucks. You know, I respect it. I did screw up the days a little bit on HackSpaceCon because I'm not going to be there the 13th, but 10th through the 12th, we'll be there next week. However, this is this week's big event for us, this webinar, because we are going to have a guest with us in just a moment. Before we get to that, though, I think we'll give him a second, get adjusted, get acclimated. Daniel, I want to talk to you a little bit about HackSpaceCon because I know you went last year, and this is going to be my first year. What was your experience?
It was great. So for those of you out there that have been to cons before, you know that not all cons are created equally, right? Some of them are okay, and some of them are not great, and some of them are awesome. I think of Wild West Hacking Fest is like the apex predator when it comes to hacking cons, in my estimation. So when I went to HackSpaceCon last year, I didn't know what to expect. It was its first year, it's an inaugural year, and didn't know what to expect. And I'm like, wow, this is not bad for year one of a hacking con. And there was a bunch of people from a bunch of like Black Hills was there, TCM Security was there, you know, some Simply Cyber people were showing. Like it was really good. There was a lot of people I knew, a lot of people I didn't know, and they just had a lot of really good stuff going on. Plus, it's at Kennedy Space Center. Yeah. So if you're a big science nerd such as myself, who loves, you know, sci-fi and actual sci, leave the phi off. I love space travel and anything like that. I love any movies and stuff that have to do with that stuff. So being at Kennedy Space Center, which I've been plenty of times, it was a total treat for me. You get to look at rockets, you get to go walk the park, and you get to go to a con. I mean, how can this go wrong?
There does seem to be a bit of a correlation between some of these cybersecurity events and like space and sci-fi, because Wild West Hacking Fest had like a sci-fi type theme last year. I think it does again this year. That's like a common thread.
Wild West Hacking Fest last year was
it's X-Files, right?
X-Files, yeah.
So it's kind of sci-fi,
and
right?
then this year,
Space Cowboy?
Is Space Cowboy or is it Firefly?
Oh, see, I don't know. I'm not informed.
We'll have to ask John.
I'm not informed. Yeah, we'll have to ask him. Yeah. He should be dropping in just a moment. But in the meantime, we do have a new, I believe, a new camera we wanted to show off in the studio. And I'll be honest with you, this is news to me. But I'm being told by the voices in my head that this is something that we can show. Oh, it's the shoe cam.
The shoe cam.
Look at that. I love the, can you see the logo? Woo, there it is.
Yep.
Gators on it. It's got gators on the tongue of the shoe too, but I had to tie them tight because they're half size too big for me. Thank you for that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to show off my Chucks. This is the only show we do where like I can wear cool shoes and people can see them. Yeah. Because Technado, you don't see the shoes. Yeah. It's not part of it.
Speaking of Technado, man, it was fun yesterday, huh?
Yeah, I got to finally watch Aliens, and so we got to talk about that and lots of stuff going on this week in cybersecurity, which is always the case. But
yeah, it's a never ending.
AT&T breach updates, the Pi stuff is ongoing. Malware. Hot Topic had like a credential stuffing thing.
Oh boy, we gave them a ride, didn't we?
That was, we ragged on Hot Topic a little bit.
I would say that yesterday, this most current Technado was probably the most fun that we've done so far.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we did have a little bit of a format change. For those of you that are Technado enjoyers, we did have a bit of a format switch. We're focusing more on cybersecurity stuff now. So if you're not a Technado
when we say more,
viewer,
we mean only.
Only. We do touch on, like gaming and stuff sometimes. We'll get into the pop culture a little bit, but it is pretty much cybersecurity. So if you're not a Technado viewer and you want to be, can hop over to, if you're
Check that out.
watching on YouTube, it lives on the YouTube channel. And
Yeah.
we've got episodes every Thursday. Super fun time. And I get to learn a lot. And
And
sometimes
we're trying to hit 150,000 subscribers.
that's true.
And we are very, 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 very close. As you
Dang.
can see, 149, 622.
Yeah.
It just takes a few of you.
For the cost of
right, for a cup of
coffee a
coffee.
day.
You too can sponsor a Technado episode
Yeah.
by just being a subscriber, because that's what we
What do they say? Smash that like, hit the bell,
Yeah.
subscribe, whatever,
Like and subscribe, give us 2 thumbs up. My kids,
they
every
really?
kid YouTube video is
They all have the same spiel.
They have this like little cadence to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it gets stuck in your head. It's catchy.
Yeah.
But, if you are watching here from YouTube, or whether you're watching on Zoom, LinkedIn, we might even have another platform, but I think it's mostly Zoom, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can, mostly YouTube's a big one for today's webinar.
Right.
You can drop your questions in the chat. We're just waiting on John to drop on in. He's got a lot going on today.
He's a busy fella.
They're debuting something. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but they've got a debut later today. Sounds like he's here. We've got voices in our heads. It's very useful.
Well, okay.
Here he comes. He's got his own intro.
It's
John. Hi, John.
Am I the voice in your head? Because that would be creepy. I don't even like my own voice in
Hack
my own
who,
head.
John?
He's the voice in your head. I've got my own, but I'm glad you guys have that closeness.
Yes. Yes. Welcome, sir. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. Thank you very much for having me.
Brother, it's been a hot minute since we've had you on, and we were just like, we've got to get John, because personally, I'm going to speak for myself. I think I also can speak for a few of the other people around here. We've been doing all things cyber for a little while now. You have easily been top 3, if not the top guest we've had on this show. Your performance on this has just been always awesome.
I'm going to see it next week, and you're just going to say it again to the next person. It's like, we love you, Cleveland.
That's right.
Right. Like every stand-up comedian, every band.
We're in Louisville.
It's better when you're in like a really small town, and they're like,
yeah.
we've been waiting to come to, High Springs, Florida. And it's like, no, you weren't waiting to come to High Springs, Florida. Love you, but no, you weren't.
No.
Well, I know we do get, questions, especially when we've got, he's behind me. Oh, that's so scary.
The ever-present John Strand.
Oh, this really is sci-fi type stuff today.
This is awesome.
We'll always get lots of questions when we've got a guest like John on the show. But Daniel, I know you usually have a question you like to ask our guests at the beginning, so I'm going to let you do that.
I do. And since it's been a while since we saw you, I'm going to ask you the same question I probably asked you before, because it continues to always be relevant. And it is, what is John Strand doing to, improve himself, to professionally develop, to level up, as it were?
So one of the things that I've been kind of working on is I've got an Android pen testing class that I've been working on. And the reason why I've kind of gotten into Android pen testing, and eventually you're going to write a class for iOS pen testing, is these stupid devices run our lives, right? And they're not a general purpose computing system. And what I mean by that is it's not something that you can just simply download, run, set up debuggers, set up sniffers super easily. It's actually very, very, very difficult to do. And it's funny because you have Google and you have Microsoft that like to talk about it in terms of, well, they're making it more secure by locking it down so you can't do those things. Well, I'm sure that that's part of it in some fashion or another, but they really don't want you reverse engineering and knowing what's actually going on underneath the hood. And I have this kind of philosophy of, things are only fragile till they break. And I want to come up with a class that's accessible for people to be able to start pen testing the apps and the APIs and everything that's going on Android and iOS devices, because these don't get nearly the level of security scrutiny that other devices or services or things get, just simply because the barrier to entry is a little bit more difficult to do that type of testing. So I love it because it feels like, hacking back in the early 2000s where you're doing stuff and there's just a handful of people that know how to do setting up debuggers and setting up FRIDA and all those things. So that's what I'm looking into right now. The other thing I'm really trying to focus on is health. It's one of those things Dave Kennedy's been talking about for a long time. There's a number of us, as we get older, we just have to do better at taking care of ourselves, because I think we can spend too much time behind a keyboard sitting down. So I've been trying to do a lot of mountain biking and rock climbing and things like that, because I think it makes people more balanced on the whole in your career field, no matter what that is.
John Strand is a true Renaissance man, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm.
Yeah. But that's very cool. And I totally agree with you as far as I actually do get from time to time, people will ping me either on LinkedIn or maybe on my YouTube channel or something saying, hey, are you ever going to do anything with mobile hacking? And I'm like, would love to, but it's quite a
So
deep
hard.
rabbit hole. Yeah, it's very difficult. So
Yep.
the time
And
and stuff just haven't been there. So I look forward to seeing what you bring out for us.
yeah, and if anybody wants like a quick tip, go look at Corellium. You can get a really cheap single device. It's an emulator that runs in the cloud via your browser. You can connect into it via SSH or OpenVPN, and it's automatically going to be a rooted device. It's fantastic. Go check it
Nice.
out. That's what my class is going to be built around, just once again, because it makes it that much more accessible.
Well, John, you upstaged us all yet again, sir. It's kind
Yep.
of your stock in trade, so we'll leave you to it. Well, I'm glad you're doing that. I'm glad that's going to be available. I can't wait to see when it actually comes out. I'll probably be a student of that because that sounds fun.
Thank you.
The John of all trades, I
The
guess.
John of
we
all
could call
trades. I
him.
like
John of all
that.
trades.
I like
Yeah,
that.
you could trademark that. Just
Yeah.
make sure you credit me in the
No.
caption or something.
No.
No.
He's not the
Bad
Gene
idea.
Simmons of IT,
No.
right? Or he trademarks everything.
No.
Well, before we jump into our questions, we do have a lot of the Simply Cyber community here in the chat. They're dropping a lot of comments, which is awesome. But we will pull those questions in just a moment. We do have a meme, it sounds like, of
meme?
John. A meme, yes. I
Okay.
don't know if you know what those are.
I've never heard of these memes.
We've got a meme. So we're gonna do a little mini caption contest. That was him trying to get into our stream today. So gonna do a little caption contest. If y'all
I didn't
want
think
to,
it would be that fast. I didn't think that you guys would flip it on me that fast. Like, okay.
our
That
production
literally,
team.
folks, was sent probably 2 minutes ago. So
They are faster than lightning on our production team. So if y'all have any caption ideas for that,
Ooh.
send them in the chat, and
please.
we'll go through them at the end, pick the best one. We'll judge your caption
That's right.
ideas. There
Should
it is
John
again.
be the
I'm looking
jhave
forward. I am so looking forward to this. because
John, you should have
that's
final say
capture.
so on the best meme.
take a
I
little
will,
screenshot.
I will. Absolutely.
And yeah, be thinking about that throughout our conversation today. But we will go ahead and jump into our questions. We know that's what y'all are here for. Keep dropping them in the chat. This first one comes to us from Wayne on YouTube. And Wayne wants to know, what is the one thing that you really look for on a resume?
Oh, that's a great question, John.
So this is a great question. First, stop trying to play the game of getting a resume put together that's right. We're talking about general purpose computing. So many people look at general purpose resumes. It's like, I want the resume to look good and set the right format. And is it like, doesn't matter. Banjo Crashland on Twitter, and then his real name is Jason Blanchard. He has a job hunting webcast series that he's done. And when you're approaching a job, you need to approach it like you're doing recon and even social engineering as part of a pen test. Go to their LinkedIn page or get their job posting, right? And then go to the LinkedIn page, find the people there that are like hiring managers, because their jobs, they're magical job fairies, as Jason likes to call them. They're people whose sole existence is to get you jobs. That's it. And then the other thing I recommend you do is you look at the jobs that are posted by that company, and don't just look at the InfoSec job, but look at the other jobs to get a better view of what the full technology stack is. Are they looking for developers? What web technologies do they do? Are they looking for systems administrators? What technologies do they do? Because some of those things may not have made it in the InfoSec job posting. So now you can tailor your resume to match the skills that they're looking for in the InfoSec side. And then you can pepper it in with technologies that they are using either in a development or a systems administration perspective. And then that's going to really pop your resume. So you want to tailor your resume specifically to the organization that you're going after. And if there's things on their technology stack that you don't know, there's nothing wrong with going to the Center for Internet Security, pulling down the hardening guides, playing with that hardening guide and all the security relevant configuration settings for those technology stacks. And then you can put on your resume that you're familiar or a novice with those technologies. And that is really going to help you out in trying to get a job. Don't look at it as this is a good resume, this is a bad resume. You have to tailor to make your resume the right resume.
John, you probably just broke a lot of hearts with that answer, because Probably most people are just looking for, just put, Security Plus or
Yeah.
CISSP or
I
CEH on it, and you're golden.
I like wingdings. If the font's
Yeah.
wingdings,
I want
I
a
hire 'em.
cornflower blue fonts on eggshell paper.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example, a story. We were talking about DerbyCon, we were talking about it earlier, and I had this lady came up and she gave me her resume, and she was very frustrated, right? She's like, "Could you look at my resume for me?" And she's been coming onto our webcast and stuff for a long time, and I looked at her resume, and her resume was garbage. It was really bad. It was like a manager of a fast food place. It was like a manager of a warehouse, and the resume would be great for those types of jobs. But she wanted to get in information security, and I started talking to her, and I was like, "So this resume is nothing IT related. What do you do IT related?" And she said, "Well, I kind of have set up the robot and the programming club at my kid's high school." I'm like, "Why is that not on here? Like, why is that not here? That absolutely should be one of those things that's like front and center." Then she said she had a YouTube channel, and this is a long, 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 long time ago, where she was going through downloading Microsoft software and then creating YouTube videos about setting up those services and configuring them from a security perspective. And she had a lot of followers on her YouTube channel at the time. Once again, why was that not on her resume? And we were able to get that kind of skinned right, get it just set up. So it was a much better tool to get her a job. And she got into IT security.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's all about setting it up the right way.
it's amazing how we can get in that old school mindset, or if we're coming from a different line of work and into information security and cybersecurity and kind of adjusting to that culture. And I can't tell you how many times I've recommended Jason and his, job hunt like a hacker, right? If
Yeah,
that's what you want to be, you got to show that you can do that. And then this resume is going to prove that those skills are valid because you're doing all the things that kind of make that heir apparent. And so, yeah,
exactly.
his stuff is great. Your advice is spot on in my estimation. So I follow you guys a lot too, just to see what you're saying on the topic and make sure that what I'm thinking is in line with what's actually going on. Because, like you say, you hire people as well, so you know exactly what you're looking for and how it should look, and what you would want to see in a candidate that possibly would be in Black Hills, and that kind of thing just translates over to any IT security job.
Absolutely.
Well, I hate to continue on this train if it's not something y'all are going to enjoy, but we do have another question about resumes if
Oh,
you're open to it. What do you
No,
think,
let's
John?
go for it.
All right.
yeah.
This
Good.
I'm glad you guys are open to it because I do think that this is a good topic to go into. Steve on Zoom wants to know if unpaid internships are more remarkable on your resume than just racking up certifications.
Only if the unpaid internships actually are working towards something, right?
Mm.
First and foremost, I don't believe in unpaid internships. I think it's garbage that organizations will take advantage of, especially young people in college, for free, and say, "Well, we're giving you experience." That needs to end. That needs to die in this, and not just this industry, but all the way across the board. It's like if you're getting value out of someone, especially an intern, somebody that's trying to build their life and their career, they should be reimbursed in some fashion or another. So that's number one. Number two, if you're doing an unpaid internship and everything you're doing is proprietary, you're not really going to be able to talk much about it. And you have like an employment agreement that locks you down, that you can't do a bunch of things, even though those employment agreements are not enforceable in many, many, many situations. But if it's something like we're going to have you do open source tool development, and that is something you can literally point people to, or creating projects or working towards something that's going to be a public setting, that's fantastic. But yeah, I would definitely be wary of any unpaid internships, because usually that's just another way of saying, slave labor.
Yeah, it's a shame that you can go work for like McDonald's or something and make more money than you would at a high skill job, and because you're getting paid in experience. And we're
Yeah,
always, I know Black Hills is doing it. I'm trying to always do this, is crack the code of this is how you can get experience without doing that. There's plenty of ways which you can get experience. So it don't necessarily have to
absolutely.
go that way. It would have to be a very high value internship if I would even consider giving them my time and effort for no money for the trade off of
Yeah.
quote unquote
Hmm.
experience.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
as a recent college grad, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely
true.
100%. I was lucky to end up, I worked here part-time
Yeah.
and so it was paid, and I'm thankful that they were not like, no, we're not going to pay you. But John, when you said that you don't believe in unpaid internships, I think I heard applause coming from our control room.
I could
I'm
hear
pretty
it
sure.
in the other room.
So-
Yeah.
Heard it from Kentucky. It was loud.
Say it again for those in the
but-
back, right?
You've
Yeah,
got,
exactly.
You've got
It's just
some-
it's not acceptable, and that's one of those things. Like, you know, I kind of, you know, people talk about millennials a lot, and like old people are like millennials, right? And one of the things I absolutely love about millennials is they look at things like this and they're like, this is garbage, right? Like you all know that this is garbage. Like they will call that crap out. And that's one of the things I think that's great about them.
Yeah, we got to affect that positive change in the industry, right?
yeah, be the change you want to see in
That's
the
right,
world.
Gandhi.
Is that Gandhi?
I believe it is.
You know,
It is.
I don't remember. I just read it in a book one time, so I don't remember where it's from. But the other thing I'm reading is these questions on screen, because now they're starting to roll in now. We're
They're
getting
really
a lot.
starting to cook now, huh?
So we've got a bunch coming in on Zoom as well. I think that's where most of the Simply Cyber folks are, and YouTube as well. This one comes to us from Jerry is watching on Zoom or on YouTube. We're going to get to Dustin in just a moment. But Jerry Ozier, if you don't know him, he's over part of the Simply Cyber community. Thank you for joining us today, Jerry. We're super excited to have you here. Jerry wants to know if y'all can discuss the degree of scope mobile devices that are showing up in pen testing and red engagements for Black Hills Information Security. Also, hi.
What's up, Jerry? Friend of the
Can't forget that.
Friend of ACI, friend of Black Hills. Man, that boy just.
And he's going to be keynoting Wild West Hacking Fest this year, by the way.
Really?
So
Yes.
keep that
All
in mind.
right, let's go.
Look forward to it.
Yeah,
Looking
we
forward
got
to
him
it.
coming out. Like that type of community building and dedication is awesome.
That's
So
right.
whenever we're looking at the amount of organizations that are actually having mobile device assessments, we're seeing it a lot at Black Hills Information Security. In fact, that's one of the areas, one of the reasons why I'm creating the class is to try to address a gap internally. Because like I said, that's not a skill that a lot of security analysts have, right? So what we're trying to do is build that up internally. And we have some excellent people that have been helping me with that for the past, I don't know, like year or so. However, when we're looking at it in corporations at Black Hills InfoSec, yes, we are seeing it a lot more. And once again, just to give you an idea, if you're doing it wrong, usually you'll spend something like 75% of your time just setting up the testing environment. And then you're lucky if you get like 25% of the time to do actual testing because of all kinds of problems. If you do it right, you can actually stand that up very, very quickly and get to good testing. All that being said, a lot of organizations don't understand the attack surface of a mobile device. They don't understand what is the amount of time that needs to go into it. I kid you not. There's people that are like, well, it can't be that hard. I mean, it's small. I mean, look at it. It's that big. So I can't imagine, paying a lot of money to get that tested.
I see no flaw in their logic, John. I mean, it's small.
I see no flaw in that logic at all, right? So, no, we're definitely seeing it. But I also know from the years that we've been doing this at BHIS that we get this kind of selection bias where a lot of our customers are people that have been doing webcasts and have been with us since 2008. And that's kind of the pointy end of the spear, where these are people that kind of get security and it makes things a lot easier for us. But all of that being said, the vast majority of applications, whenever I start looking at them and just poking around, they have pretty egregious security issues in them.
It's definitely a woefully under. We're not paying enough attention to it. That's what I'm trying to say, right?
No,
is that
agreed.
We just take it for granted that it's sitting in our pocket. But have you ever just sat back and watched someone who loves their phone? My wife is a prime example. I'm going to shout out my wife. I love you, babe.
Aw.
Right? But she kills her battery like twice a day. She does everything on her phone. And I feel like, from my experience, that she is a typical end user. She prefers to do everything she can on her phone. She hates to crack open a laptop. And God forbid you ask her to sit down at a desk. You might as well just ask her for an arm or a leg, right? This is insanity to her. The phone is her primary mode of interaction with her digital life. I would assume this to be very, very true with your clients as well.
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And, and that also is part of the reason why I want people to do it, not just from a corporate perspective, but we as individuals, citizens on the internet, we should be testing and validating everything. This is Department of Justice came out with some guidance called good faith security research and what a good faith security researcher is. And it basically enables us, as long as we are doing it from a good faith perspective, it allows us to be able to do security testing and do that research without the Department of Justice breathing down our throats, at least in the United States. And I think that we should take advantage of that. We should have people that are just hobbyists that are running a sniffer and they're running a debugger and they're seeing what an application does. What does it do for broadcast intents? What's in the manifest.xml file? What is it doing from a security perspective vis-a-vis ads and how that's being sent back and forth to Google and the mothership? These are things that we need to know. And the only way that we can do that and kind of keep large technology firms in check is if we do have people that are IT savvy doing that type of security testing to help keep these companies in check.
That's right. We got to remove the veil from this black box of what's going on inside this little thing. Let's figure it out. And that way we can A, better secure it, B, have more privacy if that is necessary for whatever it is you're doing. Obviously, privacy is a big deal because, identity theft, that's a thing and it's a problem, right? So if we're figuring this stuff out, I'm not surprised to see that this is starting to pop up more and more in your engagement scopes. Sophia?
I will say, I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit called. I know you were talking about Carrie, but I'm feeling a little bit called out with the whole, like, you want to do everything on your phone. The only time that
You do everything on your phone.
I do a lot of stuff on my phone. If I'm doing work stuff, like email, Teams, I want to have it on my laptop. I don't want to deal with that on my phone. And the other thing is, if I'm making a big purchase, that is a laptop purchase. I will not book a flight on my phone.
I do the
just
same.
can't do
It's
it.
weird.
That's funny.
Like buying flight tickets feels weird inside of the
can't.
United app.
I'm
It's
so
like,
afraid
no,
I'm
I'm
going to
gonna put
miss
this
something
down.
and like screw something up
I'm
if
going
I
to
do it
do
on my
this in a
phone.
browser.
It's got to be on a laptop. I can make a quick Amazon purchase, and buying a shirt or whatever.
I loathe to use my phone. Like I have like 5 apps on my phone. I hate
that is
using a
true.
phone. I am that boomer crying in the. Well, I guess I'm a Gen X.
So
Yeah.
this is horrible. I've got Teams on my phone, and then Teams sends alerts to my watch.
So
and
you
I
don't
can
even look at your
read what
phone.
the company's doing. So like my watch is going off constantly, and I can keep up to date with what's going on in the company, and I'm constantly doing this, and it's great because like 99% of the time everything's going fine, and it's nothing but cat pictures, right? But then again, you
This is
start
why I
seeing things
ignore
like this.
Teams.
Yeah,
You see customers that are like, they want us to do DDoS testing, and I'm like, oh, I'm jumping into that chat right now. So it's great to have that connectivity to the team. I love it, but like just trying to get away can be very hard.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's about balance. Everything's what is that Thanos quote? Perfectly balanced as all things should be from the event. No, not an event.
I got what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of the utilitarian.
Okay. So sometimes I wonder. There's certain references you'll pick up on, and some is just not.
I
your
got
thing.
that one.
That went dark.
It did.
Dark.
It did. She's
Thanos?
like, let's just get rid of half of the people in the world.
Half the phones, not half
No
the
more
people.
problem.
Half the phones. That would be a good idea.
Yeah, I like that one.
Kathy's in my ear right now. She says we have a fun little graphic that we can put up on screen.
Oh, do we?
When we have a moment here. Oh, wow.
Here we go.
Is this,
Oh,
is that the Teletubby son?
That's
The
somehow.
Teletubby son.
Oh my goodness.
That's
Oh,
that's
man.
that's kind of got midsummer type feels.
God, yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Speaking of a dark webinar.
Yeah, jeez. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
That's
That's
right.
awesome. Thank you for that,
Yeah.
Kathy. Thank you. I'm so
was-
glad our
that was
production team
great.
is.
Yeah, they are.
They're always thinking
phenomenal
on their
people.
feet, adding stuff like
They
that. It
get
makes it
paid
fun.
for that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it makes it fun. It makes it fun.
It does.
Well, we do have some more questions here coming in from Zoom. This one is from Dustin. We'll go ahead and throw this one in there. Thoughts on security for personal devices for smaller IT departments, like allowing email or Zoom, etc., while unable to use MDM, which I think is mobile device management, right? Interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. And this is one of those things that you're going to have to get into, like a remote management tool. And you're going to need to have some capabilities to get into those devices in an organization. You know, when you're looking at something like Ninja or Kaseya, like what do these tools allow you to do to manage these devices? And what do they do for you to actually get some type of security telemetry or doing auditing for what's going on it? And that's, what's really, really cool is a lot of the EDR market also has moved to the cloud. So when these devices move around, it basically allows you to have some level of security. So you really are looking for 2 solid tools. What is the RMM tool for remotely managing these tools? And what is your EDR? And can you access both of those from the cloud to effectively get to these systems and also get security on those computer systems, regardless of where they are. And that's not that, that's like a few sentences, right? That is a difficult thing. And that is ultimately what MSPs and MSSPs are dealing with every single day. Not just what are the technologies that we have to have in place, but how do these technologies enable us to be effective on a very, very, very small budget as well. So really spend some time looking at like Pax8 or ConnectWise and these different marketplaces for MSPs and get an idea of what are the tools that like MSPs are using, and that'll get you in the right direction in the perspective of functionality and also for cost.
I'm wondering, are you familiar with any open source solution that might be helpful in the meanwhile until they get spun up with something more stable? And maybe
So
sweat equity could
EDR
go
is
a long way.
tough. Yeah, EDR is real tough. Like seriously, difficult to do. You have Waza,
Yeah,
which is a
that?
tool that you can use,
I always think of the
and you
old
can set that up in
beer
the cloud,
commercial.
and you can have it come back. But whenever you're looking at like an RMM tool, like I don't think of any like really good open source RMM tools that I feel comfortable putting on someone's computer at a company. Right?
Good to
It's
know.
like it just feels dirty. And even some of the commercial ones, like a number of the RMM tools have had significant security vulnerabilities in them. And that's not to say you shouldn't use them. It's just be aware and be conscious of the fact that there may be vulnerabilities that you have to address very quickly. Like the XZ vulnerability that just came out in the compression algorithms that are used by a variety of different packages, including SSH on Linux computer systems. So you always have to like look at it like what is the best tool that's going to give me the capabilities that I need for the right cost, and then how am I going to get plugged into that ecosystem in order to get security like relevant news and alerts out of that vendor.
Excellent. Well, good to know. And I love having, this is why I like having John on, because dude, you're such a wealth of knowledge and experience to go on top of that. So it's not just being able to speak about those technologies, but speaking to them and how you've seen them incorporated and work out in real life land. So it's nice to have your level of expertise on the show from time to time. And
Well, and
really,
and that but but that question is relatively new to me because I came up in infosec in large corporations, and it wasn't until I started working with Right of Boom, Cybercall, and Andrew Morgan, and with like Arnie Benellini and all of these people that I started realizing that the MSP and MSSP groups have completely different landscapes, completely different problem sets, and wildly different budgets. So that question was a great question because if you would have asked me that 6 years ago, I would have been like, well, here's a really expensive vendor you should use
right.
because we're completely numb to the cost of a lot of these things in large scale corporations.
Yeah, the quality of question has been on point today, hasn't it?
We do have a couple
It
more
has
that
been.
came in about jobs and resumes again. And again, if I know we got a lot of people in the chat. I think Zach Hill is here. Obviously, Jerry is here. Jax is here. So if y'all want to answer
Ooh.
them in the chat as well, if y'all have advice to offer as well, feel free.
It is an
It's a
open
group
chat.
effort. It's a community,
Jump in.
That's
right?
It's
right.
an open chat.
Yeah,
Takes
go
It
some
makes less
village,
work
right?
for us. So
Right, exactly.
It does.
It's a group
does.
effort. So we do have a couple more that pertain to resumes and job hunting. This next one comes to us from Steve, who's watching on Zoom, and John's actually reading the question over my shoulder right now. But is job hunting mostly about numbers, like 20% cold applications and 80% networking, setting up meetings to learn the industry and potential opportunities? Is it a big numbers game?
That's a great
I
question.
would say kind of yes, no, maybe. Crap, it's a complicated thing. Now, mind you, this is a question that's being asked to a middle-aged white dude that hasn't put out a resume in a long time. Let's just go with probably since 2005. I haven't done a resume, right? So whenever we're going through our webcast and Jason's doing his thing, I think we're up to around 280 people that we've confirmed gotten jobs from our Pay What You Can training who have reached back out to us and said thank you. And when we're looking at these different types of things, right? You have the cold applications, of course. But I really do like websites like Indeed. They do a good job of kind of tying up. These are the skills that we're looking for. These are the resumes that match those skills. So for those types of websites, you don't have to go through and just apply. The system's already going to churn it and put it through. So let that go. Now, the 80% networking is one that I absolutely agree with, right? Get out to local security clubs like InfoGuard, HTCIA, any DEF CON groups like DC in your area code. So if you're in Denver, you can do like DC 303. Is there a Denver area code DEF CON group and meet with these people, right? Get out in these various groups, check if there's B-sides events, try to go to these mixers, because ultimately, when I'm looking to hire somebody, we're going to get a lot of resumes. But if I know that I've been working with someone in our Discord server, or I've met them at conferences and I can hang out with them a little bit, you get an idea of what that personality is like. And those people tend to bubble up really, really, really fast. So I do really like the networking aspect of it. But trust me, if you just upload your resume to websites like Indeed, they're going to do the cold resume thing anyway for you in an automated fashion. So the rest of your time really be focused on what are the jobs in your area or where you want to go, and tailoring your resume for those things. And then, of course, just reach out on LinkedIn. That's what it's there for. InfoSec managers, hiring managers, just reach out and say, hey, my name is John Strand. I submitted a resume for this particular job posting. Really, really would love to talk to you more, and just leave it at that. Because like I said, those people, it's their job to go out and find the best people in the community. And you got to stand up and be seen. If you're treating any of this as passive, like I'm just going to shoot my resume into a bunch of places. I hear this all the time. I've submitted my resume to 120 companies and nothing's happened. That's because you're doing it wrong. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results. And that's very much an insane way to go about doing things. And it's going to lead you to just become super jaded in the industry about yourself. So you got to be much more active in your role and trying to get out there. So that networking is absolutely just tops. So do that.
John, would you say, speaking to the networking portion of this, and as someone who is a hiring person, like you hire people from time to time, it does happen. Would you say that even a bit of a known entity is much better than a completely unknown entity? That if all things being equal, and you kind of know the person, at least in some way, shape, or form, whether that be tertiarily or directly, it's going to be like, well, at least I know they're not a total, doofus or a jerk or whatever.
No, yeah, agreed. Yep. And right now it's getting a little bit ridiculous at BHIS, especially on our SOC, which is more of like entry level stuff in BHIS, where it's like, where did this person come from? Our Discord server. That person also from our Discord server. What about that person over there? Yep. On our Discord server. And that's exactly like you said, because I can see how they interact, not just with me, but I can see them helping other people on Discord in my classes. And you really get a gauge for how somebody is. Is this a person that has their hand out to take or their hand out to give? And we have these people on our Discord servers that they're our nerd herders, right? And they're making this community vibrant, and they're making this community just amazing. And our nerd herders get all they can eat security training with us. Like if you make it to that level, just because you have been an amazing resource to not just us, but all the people in that community. And boy, those are people that I want to work with every single day. The people that I have a hard time with, and this is just like a personal pet peeve, is people that reach out to me out of the blue and just say, I want you to know I'm just getting started, but I'm a real hard worker and a fast learner. You might be, but I have no track record for that. And there's going to be 20 other people in the nerd herders and on their way up that are absolutely community driven. They're great people to work with. We're excited to see them. And those people are going to jump to the front of the queue, even if they don't have the technical skills of somebody that I don't know that maybe has a quote unquote better resume. Just knowing that they can mesh and they can work through problems and help people jumps them right up front.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to someone, I think at Red Canary, and they were hiring. This was at Wild West Hackin' Fest, and I asked them, "What are you looking for in a possible hire for your organization?" And they said, "Honestly, we're looking for a good culture fit. We can teach them to be the hacker we need them to be, as long as they have some aptitude for it. We're looking for someone who's going to be able to parachute in, work well with the team, and that's what we prize over skills, because we can teach you skills." And I said, say it again.
I want to riff on that because that's so important. And there's people that are listening to this that need to hear this. Okay. If you spend a lot of time, and this is just me to you, okay? If you spend a lot of time talking about other people as sheeple, if you spend a lot of time talking about how people are idiots, if you spend a lot of time convinced of your own superiority because of your technical skills, you're an a-hole. Now, this is not a lifelong condition. You can fix this. Recognize that other people have different skills and they bring different things to the table, and you can work through that. The other thing that you need to understand is most companies will hire someone with slightly less technical skills than you, or the skills that you may think you have, just because they're better people to work with. So if you spend a lot of time looking around and saying, well, this person got promoted over me, or this person got a job and I didn't, and I'm smarter than them, spend a lot of time looking long and hard in the mirror and try to identify how you can be a better person. All right, that's it. Back to the rest of the webcast.
If you or a loved one suffer from mild to severe aholery, talk to Dr. John Strand.
Oh, no.
I like how we're looking up sheeple.
There it is. In
Oh
case you were
God,
wondering.
I hate that so much. I absolutely hate the sheeple word. It's one of my least favorites, and my camera got all knocked around.
You were so impassioned in your speech.
We're trying to upset John today.
Yeah.
We're trying to see if we can rattle him.
You know, talk about upsetting me. Yes, that is one of my triggers whenever I'm talking to people and they're just like, I don't get it. Everyone's stupid and I'm smart. How come I'm not getting promoted? And you got to pull them aside and be like, you're kind of a jackass.
Yeah. Have you thought this could be true?
I think you're great. I'm sure your mom likes you. I'm sure your grandma loves you.
Yeah.
Other people don't. And you can tell if you are by your worldview. If your worldview is everybody is stupid except you, you're the problem.
Yeah. You might want to check that.
Well, we have a special little insert here. We have a live look, an exclusive at Daniel's phone. So for the people that want to know, we do, yes. So for the folks that want to know,
oh my God,
there
picture
it is.
Of me.
Yay.
Just in case I forgot what I looked like.
Just wanted to make sure people knew what they were.
For the Suits fans out there, I feel like Louis Litt with pictures of himself all over his office. Like,
yeah.
Kids are like, what is that thing?
Some kind of calculator. I don't know.
Actually, so it's funny. Those phones are becoming much more popular here in the recent past because they do not suffer from the same types of security issues that these do.
That is true.
No, they don't.
I used to be like terrified that I was accidentally going to access the internet on like my first phone that was a flip phone because you pressed the wrong button
and you were in the bleed through the nose on payments,
and it's like connecting. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
Mom's gonna yell at me, so I would get
Sophia
freaked out.
just throws it in the pool. There.
It's worth it.
The insurance is way less than that bill was going to be.
Yeah, it just wasn't worth the risk.
Yeah,
we've got a question here, and this one I believe is. I mean, all these questions are for John, but this one is specifically for John. It comes to us from Steve, who's watching on Zoom. He wants to know, John, what kind of courses are in development for Antisyphon?
So right now we've got an Office 365 class that I've been waiting on for a really, really, really long time. And then we have, of course, the Android and the iOS classes are coming up. And honestly, I don't know. I like right now, I think we're nowhere near the catalog that like IT Pro TV has because you guys do so much more in the IT sphere. But no, I think we currently have about 50 and they're all security specific. And I don't know. I know I've been talking. A couple that I'm really excited about. Jay Beal from Inguardians is working on a Kubernetes class, and Mike Poor, who just joined our instructor ranks a month ago. Many of you know him from the SANS Institute, is developing some packet analysis classes. The final class that I'm working on that we can kind of talk about it is I'm in negotiations right now with the Center for Internet Security on working on a class for implementation groups, 1, 2, and 3 for the Center for Internet Security. So we'll see how that works out. I'm pretty hopeful about it, and I think that that'll be a good class too.
Cloud can be such a difficult thing to teach because they change it like daily. So when you go click here, go there, do this, and now that's completely different. We have definitely been on the struggle bus with that. Yeah.
We've actually been pushing a lot of our instructors. If you have something that has a CLI, use that. Even if the commands are long and convoluted, a lot of those commands, they'll change at a slower pace than the front end will. So we've been really trying to focus on, because if you can run it from the command line, you can script it. If you script it, you can automate it. And that's a really big thing there too.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another question here. It's from John, different John, not our John.
John's
different
asking
John.
his own questions.
Yeah, he's planting in the chat. Different John, but this one goes back to what we were talking about earlier with resumes, and this one is something I've never considered. How should we handle resume gaps due to NDAs, where we aren't permitted to share some of those important job experiences? I didn't even think about that.
Just put, if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Next question.
All right. So look, your non-disclosure agreement, if you actually look at it, it's going to be very, very, very specific to like the technology that you worked on coupled with the organization you worked for. And most of the time, whenever you're talking about it, you're working with a technology stack. So if you were doing development in something like React, you can say that you have development experience in React. That's fine. That's not a violation of a non-disclosure agreement. If you were working on custom machine learning algorithms, you don't, to be honest, most of the time when people are working on machine learning algorithms, they're working on open source machine learning algorithms like k-means clustering, MadMom, things of that nature. So really, you're going to be looking at the coupling of the technology in the organization. It's like whenever I was working in classified space and I still have a clearance, I can talk about the technologies that I worked on. I worked on backdoors and exploit development. Now, I'm not going to say I worked on backdoors and exploit development in the tinfoil hats program working with the NSA trying to hack UFOs, right? I'm not going to tie together the classified things, but I can take the individual pieces of the things that I worked on, the actual base components, and I can put that in my resume, and that's perfectly fine. If you're looking at the vast majority of non-disclosure agreements, you can say that you worked in a specific technology stack. Like it's not a violation to say you worked with Oracle. It isn't. It's not a violation of an NDA to say that you worked with, like I said, React or Node or something like that. That's just the technology stack that you had that you worked with. So don't be afraid of those things. I always feel so many people in the industry get so wrapped around the axle around non-competes, non-disclosure agreements, or clearances that they kind of lock down and they start to hurt themselves. And you shouldn't look at it that way. Like I said, break it down to its base components, make it so it's not associated with a specific product that was being created or very specific product, like, things that would be considered intellectual property, and you'll be just fine.
Wow.
Simple.
Simple, little, yellow, different.
That's right. New print. I love that I have infiltrated your brain. With
you brainwashed me. I don't think I was probably even alive when that commercial was like a thing. Or if I was not conscious,
not.
But because of you, I am aware of its existence. So thank you for that.
We're so sorry.
You should be. In lieu of flowers, just send me money. I'll drop my Venmo
Send her
in the
new
chat.
print.
I'll drop Venmo in the chat. Well, we know that we are coming up to the top of the hour, and we know that John does have somewhere to be after this, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So we want to get in as many questions as we can. So we're going to go ahead and cut to our rapid fire segment. Check it out. We briefed John already, but if you're not familiar, we are going to try to get through as many questions as possible. I believe we will have 30 seconds or a minute to answer each question. And
how much time do they have?
I don't know.
Is it 30 seconds or a minute? That's
I'm actually not sure. Maybe we'll find out. It's 30 seconds. 30 seconds. The voices in my head just told me. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. You ready, John?
Let's go.
All right, this first one comes to us from Zoom. How do you feel about AD password security? For example, changing every 30 days versus allowing permanent passwords.
So the 30-day thing... Oh, the 30-day thing came from the NIST. Okay, start. The 30-day thing came from the NIST Green Book series that came out in 1985, and it was based on and predicated on the idea that you could crack every single 8-character password within 30 days. So they made password changes to be 60 days. So if you're going to be playing that particular game, make your passwords long. The only thing that matters is length whenever you're dealing with password complexity. Don't have time to go through why, but just trust me. If you get your passwords of over 17 characters with a little bit of randomization, upper, lowercase, alphanumeric, special character, allow people to use dictionary words, couple it with two-factor, and you're fine.
Wow. Okay. And that was right on
the
30-second mark.
Dead on the tick.
Dead on. Okay. Now we'll get to the one I was supposed to ask first. This one comes to us from Gary. Gary wants to know, are entry-level cyber jobs really just IT jobs like help desk, sysadmin, and network admin?
Yes. And I would add in junior developers.
Oh.
I yield the rest of my time.
All right.
Oh.
Well, hey.
I'm so glad. It's funny. I've heard people say that, cyber's not, it is an entry-level job. You can totally entry-level into cyber, but there's a lot that goes beyond that. And they say, well, if I was a mechanic, you wouldn't have me building cars before you let me work on your car. Yeah, but you do have to do a few lube jobs and oil changes and that kind of stuff to get into the business so that you kind of.
And by the way, I started in help desk. Don't take this as pooping on you.
Nope, I started in help
desk. And help desk is an amazing place. And all of these things, help desk, sysadmin, network admin, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
You learn to troubleshoot really well as well.
You do. You do.
Which is good.
I let you guys go over the 30-second
I know
mark.
you did.
That's not going to
happen again. That was a good question.
Tony wants to know if you guys have any comments on the recent Google email phishing updates. And I don't know what this is about, actually.
I can't say that I'm familiar with the recent Google phishing updates.
I don't know. I can talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we've been doing with phishing. I will tell you that a lot of the frameworks that are out there, they're actually getting like absolutely curb stomped. And there's some really cool things in the pro version of Evil Jinx. And we've got our own stuff that we have written from scratch, but there are a lot of really cool anti-phishing things that allow you to check on a website before someone goes there. It's getting harder to do spear phishing, and that's a fantastic thing.
Yes.
Wow. And we got the happy sound at the end of that one. All right, this next one has to do with MFA. Do you ever hear fellow industry members complain about the difficulties of logging into accounts with multi-factor authentication?
Every day of my entire life. At BHIS, we have people that complain about multi-factor authentication. However, everybody at BHIS understands just how important it is. Like, we are a company at Black Hills that is going to be targeted for spear phishing attacks by nation-state adversaries. And it's getting so bad, just as a point of reference, if you have an organization that has external authentication without MFA, it's automatically a high finding for any of our pen test reports right now today.
I always say, I'll rush a machine gun nest if I can bitch my way through it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, yes, I will do 2FA and I will complain.
Yeah, will I complain?
But
absolutely.
Yes, that's my process.
But it doesn't mean I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Soldiers are complaining soldiers.
I understand. I know it's important, This next one's a little bit more broad. What are the key skills and qualities you believe are essential for success in penetration testing?
The single greatest skill that I've noticed if I'm trying to make an assessment of someone's abilities to do pen testing and just all IT security in general is how good are they at working through cyber ranges. The thing I love about cyber ranges is they're kind of open-ended. You've got to figure out a problem. You've got to work through that problem. You have to solve that problem. It is not a multiple choice test. I don't have time to talk about multiple choice tests, but they tend to be garbage in assessing the skill of somebody.
I don't disagree.
Agree to agree. Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Never taking the SAT again. Waste of time. Anyway.
No.
This one's kind of a freebie because you guys kind of gave your thoughts on it a second ago, but what are your thoughts on MFA?
Use it. Actually, a little bit more of a nuanced answer. People like to poop on SMS-based MFA. I have no problem with SMS-based MFA for your aunt, for your uncle, for your family members. It works great for them. It's way better than no MFA at all. However, if your threat model includes nation-state level adversaries, you're going to want to have true MFA, pushing to a device with a code, something like Google Authenticator, or something that you have to open up an app. And like I said, it's a high finding if you don't have it externally at BHIS.
That's a good point. If I'm talking to my mom, yeah, she can use SMS for Facebook or whatever, but she's also not a target of Cozy Bear. So
that's true.
She'll be fine.
APT 29 is not knocking down Mama Goodwin's door.
Nah, you'll be fine, Mom. You're all good. We got you. Derek wants to know if training courses would make you more attractive to a hiring person than certifications. Which one should be a priority?
That's going to be subjective, I would think.
That's
probably.
How about this? I won't neither. If you don't have money to actually get a full certification, there's a lot of great, effective, cost-effective training things out there. Go take them. If you want something to prove your skills, go to cyber ranges and CTFs like Meta CTF, Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, and do those and put those on your resume instead of certifications.
Don't forget the home lab.
That's true.
Oh,
that is
home
true.
lab. Yeah, absolutely.
Do hear a lot about that. I think we got time for maybe one more. This one comes to us from YouTube. What industry do you see is challenged the most by cybersecurity? And an interesting aside, is the Biden EO going to help the water utilities?
So going all the way back to executive orders and the OMB circular A130 type things. Wow, deep cut. If you're looking at it, yeah, absolutely. You're going to be looking at critical infrastructure. And here's the problem with critical infrastructure. You have CISAs out there. They're hitting a lot of the big organizations that we rely on every day whenever we're talking about utilities and power. The problem is that over 60% of the critical infrastructure in America is protected by MSPs and MSSPs. We have to reach out to them as well.
All right, I think we do have time for one more. The voices in my head told
That's
me.
right.
Okay.
Jerry Ozier wants to know,
Let's do it.
John, what is your favorite video game?
Ooh.
Right now, my favorite video games of all time are Might and Magic 3, the Mech Warrior series, and for strategy, I'm a huge fan of Beyond All Reason. That's nothing quite like big robots smashing each other.
And since we have a couple seconds, Daniel, you got a favorite video game?
I do. Time Pilot is my favorite of all time video game. I can just play that. Like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. They are just addictive. They are super fun. I like those. And then a bunch of retro games.
Okay, yeah, that's about on brand. I feel
Yeah.
like I remember you playing retro games at your desk quite a bit, so that makes sense. Now, we
Oh
did.
my God, she called you out.
Who called me out?
Spends all of his
Oh,
day
me?
playing video
Oh, okay.
games.
I do it during, I don't leave my desk at lunch. I just sit there and play video
At lunch.
games.
He'll stay through lunch and work through lunch,
Yeah.
and then I hear like pew, 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 pew over on the other side of the desk. So didn't mean to call you out. Just
Okay,
a little shout
we
out.
all need to unwind somehow, right?
It's mental health.
It's mental health. Yeah, you don't want to burn
Mental
out.
health.
That's right.
Naps.
Mental health day.
Naps are
Naps.
powerful.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
that is going to wrap up our rapid fire segment. John, we know you got to get going in a second, but really quick, tell us what you're up to this afternoon.
So right after this, we are doing a webcast we are releasing a comic book, and the Kickstarter is starting today. We actually got fully funded, which is just absolutely fantastic. Really humbling actually to see it get funded that quickly. But here's the deal about it. It's not just a comic book. Inside of every single comic, whenever you see a hack happen, you'll be able to actually do that hack in a cyber range scenario. So it's a great environment for people to get immersed in what's going on from a technological perspective and also learn about the different hacks that are happening in Future Is. And by the way, at the Kickstarter itself, there are some hidden Easter egg CTF challenges embedded within this Kickstarter page. So check it out.
Wow. Even within the Kickstarter page,
That's right.
they do it right.
This is how hackers work.
We're doing it. We're doing it everywhere. Yeah,
Right?
Meta
It's-
CTF and
everything is a
Roman has
game
been
to us.
amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You're not wrong.
That is well done. If I had a little more brains to spare, I would take a look at that. I'm not quite there yet in my journey, but I will get there to the point where I can do that kind of
You
stuff.
might be farther down the road than you give yourself credit for.
Maybe I'll try it.
Maybe you'll try it.
Maybe
I
I'll
agree
try.
with that.
I think we've got a little
Right.
graphic to show.
Oh,
I'm pretty
oh,
sure.
did we-
Could be wrong.
Oh, did we find a?
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, we
There
did
it
a
is.
caption.
There we
I
go.
forgot
There
about
we
that.
go.
But yeah, there you go. There's where you all can head once we are done here if you want to check that out. So should be pretty cool. I know John's a very busy guy, so we do appreciate him making the time to see us today and answer some questions. I don't know if we did end up finding a caption champion for that meme.
Oh.
We'll have to go in and take a
Not
look.
enough time.
Not enough time.
Man,
Not enough
I
time.
know. It's just
Yeah.
an hour seems like a long time until
It
you're doing
does.
stuff like this.
It does. We'll see if we can find a caption. Maybe we'll publish that later. But in the meantime, John, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck this afternoon. Daniel, of course, thanks for being here. And
Always a pleasure.
thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Take care.